Hello and welcome to Imagination Hub. Today we are going to learn how to calculate the area and perimeter of the basic shapes that you will encounter in your exams as well as some compound shapes. I'll explain what compound shapes are later on in the lecture. So the basic shapes that for which you have to find the area and perimeter include the square. Remember that a square has all of its lengths equal. So all of these lengths they will be equal. Okay, so for the perimeter, if we know that the perimeter is the sum of all four sides, and if all four sides are equal, then we just need to add them up four times, and that's equal to 4L, which means the perimeter of a square is just four times the length of one side. And now for the area, we know that the length of since all the lengths of a square are equal, uh, we can use the following formula for area. Just multiply the length and width of the square together. We know that the length of a square is L, and the width is also equal to L. So the area is L. Okay, now we're going to solve the area and perimeter of a rectangle. So in a rectangle, the two opposite sides are equal. So this side, the upper side and the lower side, they are equal, and the two sides which are to the left and the right of the triangle, let's call them B, they are equal. But L and B are not equal. If L and B are equal, then it's a square, not a rectangle. So for the perimeter, we know that we need to add all the sides to get the perimeter. So we have two L's and two B's. So if we add them up, we get the the area of the perimeter of the rectangle as 2L plus 2B, which we can factorize as 2L plus B, which means that the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to twice the sum of the length and the breadth of the rectangle. The breadth may also be called the width. And for the area of the rectangle, the formula is L into B. So for the square, we had to multiply the length and the breadth. But the length and the breadth were equal for the square, which made us do the calculation L into L. But in the rectangle, the length and the breadth are not equal, so we write L multiplied by B instead. Remember that for the area, you will get your answer in centimeter square, meter square, or something like that. And for the perimeter, the answer will always be in meters or centimeters. But just remember that for the area, it should be in squares, and for perimeter, it should not be in squares. It should just be there should not be any number above the m, the unit. Okay, so now we're going to show the what the area and perimeter of the triangle are. So a triangle may or may not have its sides equal. But we should remember that the general formula for the perimeter of the triangle is the length of all its sides. So if a triangle which has three sides A, B and C, it has its perimeter as A plus B plus C, and the area, that is equal to 1 by 2 into base into height. Remember, this side C is the base of this triangle, because this side uh, is the one which we reach if we drop a perpendicular from these two sides which are intersecting here. And remember, this perpendicular, the length of this perpendicular is known as the height of the triangle. So remember, area is equal to 1 by 2 into base into height. So this means that the base here is C and the height is H. Don't confuse height with B or A. They are different. H will always be a straight line, not a slanted line. So these two shapes are almost the same, the rectangle and the parallelogram. The only difference is that the angles are different. In a rectangle, the angles at the edges are 90, but and the angles here are not 90. Uh, Also, these two lengths are equal, just like in the rectangle. So the perimeter, just like before, is 2L plus B, but the area is different. To, to get the area, we need to have the height and the base. Remember that the base is the longest side, so this side looks smaller than this side. So we're going to choose L as the length of L as the base, and remember that the height is a perpendicular from here. Remember that this this line will be given to you. This will be the height. So the area is base into height. Remember that the base is the longest side in the parallelogram, and the height is a straight line across the body of the parallelogram. The next shape is the trapezium. So this shape is the trapezium. You can identify it as follows. There will be two parallel lines opposite to each other. This line and this line, they are parallel to each other. There's going to be a curved or a slanted line here connecting these two parallel lines, and opposite to this line will be a straight line. And the length of this line, since it is a straight line, and so far we've been calling the straight lines the heights, so we're going to call this straight line the height of the trapezium, and the other lengths are just they can be anything. They are not they aren't that significant. So for the perimeter, we are going to add the lengths uh, of all these lines. So just add the length of this line h, and let's say this is L1, this is L2, and this is L3. So just add L1, L2, and L L3. And for the area, the formula is 1 by 2 into this height into the sum of these two parallel lines, L1 plus L3. So remember the significance of these two parallel lines, L1 and L3. You, when you have to calculate the area of this shape, you need to take the sum of the two parallel lines. So the formula for the area is 1 by 2 into height into the sum of the parallel sides. Uh, okay, so now we're going to study compound shapes, and these are just say shapes that comprise of the shapes that we were studying earlier. So they're just not a single shape, they're made of two or more two or more different shapes that we've been studying earlier. Hmm. Okay, so I have made a compound shape here. So we might also have to calculate the area of and perimeter of this shape. So calculating the perimeter is fairly easy. We just have to see how many sides there are. This is one side, this is another side, this is another side, another one, and another one. So for the perimeter, you just have to add all these sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to add all these sides. They won't all be equal, so you just have to take their individual sum. The area is a bit harder. First, we need to see what kind of shapes uh, this compound shape is made out of. So if you look at this area, if we draw a dotted line from here, we can see that we have a rectangle or square. We have a rectangle here. You can add, if you will probably be given the length of these sides. So if, for example, the length here is 5 and the length here is 6, then we know that we have a rectangle here. So before we calculate the area of this entire compound shape, we need to calculate the area of the individual parts and then add them together later. So right now we have a rectangle here. So let's call its area A1. So A1 is equal to the product of the length and the breadth, 5 into 6, 30. And what do we have here? If you look closely, you can see that a triangle has been made here. So if we draw a dotted line, you can see that a triangle is here. And this is a special triangle. It's called a right angled triangle uh, because the angle between two straight lines is 90. So a 90 angle was made here, which has created a right angled triangle. So now let's calculate the area of this, which we will call A2. And if we are given the lengths of these two sides, which the sides which are adjacent to the angle, the 90 degrees angle, let's say this is 3 and this is 2. We won't be given the length of this side because we've drawn it ourselves. So let's erase this, but we will be given the length of this side. You should know that the length of this side is equal to the length of this side. They are equal. So we can say that the length of, since this the line length of this is equal to the length of this is the base and this is the height. So A2 is equal to 3. And then we have this left. So you can see that these two lines are almost straight. These two lines are also straight. And since they are unequal, we have another rectangle. And we can calculate the area as follows. We know that the length of this side is 5 because this side is also 5 and these two sides are equal, and this we've already been given the length of this side. So for A3 we just have to multiply 5 and 3 together, 5 and 2 together, which gives us 10. And for the area of this entire compound shape we add A1, A2 and A30 plus 3 plus 10 is 43 meters square. It could have been centimeters, it could have also been millimeters. I just suppose it was meters, but the important thing that it's going to be squared here. It just won't be meters because this is the area, and we know that the unit of the area is always squared.